Okay, hi, hello, welcome. Welcome to PIN, welcome to RUNDA Digital Day. Glad to see you all in person, and hi to everybody watching online. We are in Macedonia, in Skopje, trying to make a difference in the music business and the music industry. And that's why we decided to join PIN conference this year as RUNDA. For you that don't know, RUNDA is Regional Association of Independent Labels with headquarters, let's call it like that, with virtual office in Zagreb, but it's a regional association of small and big independent record labels. We can talk about that, what independent means these days, but basically companies that are not owned by Warner, Sony, and Universal. It's a gathering of record labels, and then we started a couple of years ago, 4 years ago. We started with RUNDA Digital Day with the idea to educate the region about digital in music, not just digital streaming and digital services, but everything around it, from copyright to all other things and stuff. And last year, like everybody else, RUNDA Digital Day was online as an online conference. The year before that, it was in Zagreb, Ljubljana, and Belgrade. And this year, we are in Skopje today in collaboration with PIN Music Conference. And on 9th of December, we will be in Zagreb doing not the same program, but again, talking about digital in music. And thanks to the support from Merlin, and Impala and Zapraf and everybody else who made this possible. So glad to see you all. We have a lot of topics today to discuss. There will be some short breaks, not between every lecture, but between some I'll announce you. And I'm gonna be kind of your host for today, speaking with people who will join me later on. First, we're gonna talk about copyright in music. We're gonna talk about what the copyright in music basically is. And I didn't know I'm going to do this alone for 45 minutes on this big stage. It's kind of a stand-up, but I'll try to do my best. It's a complex topics. Yeah, we can switch to the presentation now, yeah. It's a very complex issue. I usually do this for my students at the SE Institute in Belgrade, where I teach music business from time to time. And one of the things that we cover is, copyright in music and how to, protect yourself. But also how money is made from the side of the copyright, that part of the business. So it usually takes 4, 5, 6 hours to do this, but I'll try to do this in 45 minutes. So sorry to be very fast and not to cover everything maybe, but I'll try to cover some of the stuff. If you have any questions during my presentation, you can ask whatever you want to ask. You can interrupt me. It's not like, I have to finish. So just ask whatever you want, whatever it's interesting for you. I hope there are musicians here. This is basically mainly for you. And this is very, very basic stuff. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not presenting this from the lawyer's, side of the business. This is purely from the business side and, from my experience as somebody who's in the business for almost 20 years. I'm running the Contra sign you see over there. That's my record label. It's my management company, PR company, and basically publishing company. We do everything, as most of the labels do these days, and I'm working with a lot of independent artists and managing band Butch Cassidy that you may heard of, and working with a lot of talented young basically people from all over the region. And in the past 8 years, when we had MTV, I was MTV music editor for the region, and moved from that and found Contra as a record label, but overall everything what record labels do these days. So let's start. I'm going to try to talk about all of these topics. If you have interest in any of the specifics, let me know. I'm going to try to, explain you what are your rights as somebody who is making music. This is based for music, basically. There are other things that by intellectual property law are protected, but they're not part of my interest or interest of this. So there are many other topics that we won't cover. But this will be kind of simplified version of, what is 101, what you need to know about copyright. And if you're writing music, any kind of music for even TV shows or just music, for people to enjoy it, and you put it on Spotify, that's just kind of basics or what you can do and what you should do and how you can protect yourself and doing contracts and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to talk about what rights you do have, what is the collecting societies are doing these days, and what's their role and what they don't do. That's one of my favorite topics. What is publishing? A lot of people are talking about publishing, but let's try to explain it briefly. What is it all about? There's some mystification about it. I don't think there should be. It's quite simple things to do. How the money is coming from the broadcast, and how collecting societies are making money. What to do with covers and samples and remixes and stuff like that. That's one of the burning topics when you go to YouTube. There's a bunch of covers and usage of music all over the place. And then if we have time, we can talk a little bit briefly about the digital, but there will be plenty of people talking about digital today. So usually when I teach to kids, this is how I try to simplify the rights as somebody who is writing music. And that means, writing music, writing lyrics in Serbian law, but there are some differences from law to law. You have arrangers as people who are protected by law. I know it's different in Croatia and other countries, so there's some differences, but mainly if you're writing music and if you're writing lyrics, you have a right to call yourself an author. And then you're protected by law. So I kind of try to simplify it like this and divide it in these 4 topics. 3 are the more important. Video at the end is, just something to mention that we should be aware of. But this is something that everybody who is creating music should be aware of. So the authors, sound recording, performers' rights, we're going to talk about that. So you might have seen this symbol all over the place. You see it a lot of movies and and other stuff. It's copyright symbol, and it usually means that something is protected by copyright. There was this era where everybody are putting the symbol up. I don't think it's required by law anymore, even not in the States. But you can see it from time to time, and it's leading you that you're using or they are using something that is protected by copyright. And one of the first things whenever I'm working with the bands and people always asking is, how can I protect myself and what does it mean, what I need to do, and should I just go to the collecting society and register a song? What does it mean and how long am I protected? So in general, it's 70 years after the death of the author. But it can be a bit longer if you are, for example, have 4 co-authors, and then you have the Beatles, for example. At least by Serbian law, the protection will be after the death of the last co-author of the song. So if it's only one person, it's 70 years after you die. But if there are different people who are working on the song, so you're counting on the last co-author of the song and 70 years after he or she died. I think that's very important to take into consideration, especially if you're going into contracts and signing contracts with, publishers, for example. You need to understand that when somebody says, we are doing this for the life of copyright by law, it means this. So it's a fancy term of saying forever. So if you're signing something forever, be aware of that. It's probably be your grandkids who will inherit your songs, but that they will also inherit the contract you might have with somebody. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but if entering in contract like that, it's like a marriage. It's for life. So it's 70 years after the death of the author is how long the copyright currently is. There have been talks about extending this, but we still haven't come to that term and that conclusion, so it's not extended. And the other thing that people usually ask me, especially young bands, is like, I need to go to, I don't know, collecting society and register my song to be able to protect my work. So it usually, by most of the laws, is that when you write it down, you record it, you're able to perform it again, you're able to show it to people, you're able to record it in a way that you put it on a record, you make a sound recording, you are protected by law. I don't think that registering song in any collecting societies is a bad thing. I think you should do it, but it's not a protection in a way that, you know, I'm now protected. There is a procedure, most of the countries in our region, but in most of the world, you have intellectual property offices. They do have this procedure where you can do this kind of procedure where you put your, you know, work and you know, make files and do the whole procedure about how to protect your song. It's a procedure, but it's not that complicated. It doesn't cost that huge amount of money. So if you want to be 100% sure, like, yeah, I'm protecting this, then you should do that. There's a lot of bands, for example, protecting their name as trademarks. That's something different. That's not covered by my presentation. But if you go and search for, I don't know, Arctic Monkeys or, you know, some other stuff, you will see that a lot of artists already protected their names. So that's maybe something that you can also think about and consider if you're becoming successful, and if you don't want that your name is being used on, I don't know, t-shirts or something else, and you are able to protect it if, you know, there's certain criteria that you have to meet. But in most of the cases, you will be able to protect it as a trademark, which means that nobody can organize, I don't know, a concert under the name of, I don't know, Butch Cassidy, because they just feel like so. So if it's not the band who's, you know, performing and having that name, if they protected the sign and the trademark, you won't be able to use it. So when we talk about the protection, and when we talk what is protected, like mentioned, it's composer and the author of the lyrics. So the ones who write music and the ones who write lyrics, it can be the same person, it can be different persons, it can be, you know, just one person. You can have co-authors. In most of the societies these days, I think there's a procedure where you can divide percentages in the work however you want. I know that Sokoj in Serbia at least introduced that a couple of years ago. It used to be 50% for the music, 25% for the arrangement, 25% for the lyrics, but that's changing and you can put whatever you want. So if you're entering into writing session or you're writing music with your band members, that's also one of the important topics that you need to cover. You need to talk about who's doing what. You want to, you know, kind of, you don't want to get into the fights. I know bands, you know, falling apart because they couldn't agree on how to do stuff and how to divide stuff. You also have some, you know, famous examples, I think, of U2, REM, even Coldplay, that they're dividing everything they write onto equal pieces. That's one of the things that you can do. But you do have bands where, you know, people are just performing and some other people are writing the music, so it's nothing new. And you have cases of probably, I don't know, Madonna or maybe some pop acts that they don't write their own music, but they just perform what other people wrote for them. I use this Fugees example. You probably know song Killing Me Softly. There are people who thought that this is their song, but it's actually a cover version. This, for me, when I'm teaching, is a great way to teach the students, you know, how when you have different versions, we can talk about remixes, covers, and, you know, who owns sound recording. But something that is not changing in this case is the people who wrote music and lyrics. So they will be the same every single time. If it's Lori Lieberman version, if it's Roberta Fleck version, or Fugees version, or whoever covers it, you know, you will always have the same authors of the song. A label can change, the performer can change, but the people who wrote it, they are basically protected by law, and they are what we call the authors of the song Killing Me Softly. I mentioned in Serbia we do have, I think in Croatia you have producers, you don't have arrangers in the collecting society when we talk about it. In Serbia you have the arrangers by law and by definition, but for example you don't get anything for the producers, which I know there's a case in States where you can get some points if you're a producer in terms of, you know, protection and in terms of money and copyright. This is something that I just put as a kind of a reminder. we can talk about this for hours. It's a very complex issue, and lawyers can talk about this a lot, but there's some, stuff that I think you should pay attention to. A lot of, young artists is approaching me and saying, I did this and did that, and people told me I can't do this or told me I can't do that. Basically, as an author, you have all the rights at the beginning, unless you sign something or you give rights to somebody else. So there is a lot of, list of rights that as an author you can do, but this is kind of, summarizing all. Moral rights in terms of that you have the right to, present yourself as an author, and there's even in laws, paragraphs about, people need to say that, yeah, this guy or this girl wrote this song or that song. But you also have the right to say no and right of refusal that your work is used on inappropriate manner, or if you find it offensive, or if you don't want to sell it to, certain commercial or certain brand and stuff like that. This is the stuff that you have. You have a right to say yes, you have a right to say no. That same go to reproduction, meaning distribution, to rental, to, making available, to put it on services, digital services, broadcast, or you can say no even to what we call adaptation, which means covers, remixes, reworks, or somebody want to rework your song version, so you do have right to say no, or yes, if you want to. And public performance can be from concerts to, any kind of public performance. We did have case of, very public case actually, if you know the band SARS, it's a band from Serbia, very popular all over the region. Couple of years ago, they sued one of the political parties that's in power now, actually. Then they were opposition, but they didn't agree that they should play their music on their rallies outside with, thousands of people. I don't know what happened with that case. I have to ask them, but they did went to court and saying by law you didn't ask us to play your music on your public gathering, and we don't agree with your politics, and we don't want our music to be used in that sense. So yeah, there are different ways, and you can say yes or no. Depends what you like and what you want to do with your music. General intellectual property is something that I and everybody kind of consider as a property. It's not like your apartment, but it's your to have it, to own it, to sell it, to own it, to do whatever you want. When I say own means, you're making contracts that are not giving copyright for life, but for a couple of years, certain period of time, and so on. Sound recording is something similar and connected to the, what authors are doing, but, very connected to it, but not the same. People tend to make confusion about sound recording, and this is relatively new, right? And a lot of people haven't heard about it, even about the organization who are collecting in the behalf of people who own sound recording. You will hear different terms about, you will hear, for example, phonogram, you will hear master rights, even neighboring rights, and I'll explain neighboring rights in a second. That's all related to sound recording, and it's actually a sound recording. When we say, you have from the one side copyright, you have the authors who wrote the song, but on the other side you have people who paid for the recording to be made. So by law and by the definition, the ones who paid for the recording, who organized the recording with their own resources, or being owners of the studio, who gave you the studio for free, they are the ones who own the recordings. There's a huge debate these days. I'll mention Taylor Swift in a bit. This is, I think, very important for you to understand who owns the sound recording. There's a debate in our, business as well. There's a more and more artists who are owning sound recording these days. It used to be record labels or, the production companies. I put Elvis here with intention because in the old days, a lot of big studios and big record labels own studios, and the only way how you can record something, even in our area, you had national record labels like PGP in Serbia or Croatia Records in Croatia, and you didn't have none, or you had one, for example, private studio. At the time, the equipment was very expensive, so you were depending on the ones who have the studio, so you can go in and make a recording. And usually with those old contracts, at least for PGP, because it was their studio, they are paying for people who were working there, for the producers. They were the ones who still keep the recording. There's a debate, we can talk about that in the digital age, how you know, if you haven't assigned the rights to, for example, record label, because at the time in 60s or 70s or 80s, we didn't have digital, we only had vinyls. Maybe some of the contracts didn't even have CDs, have just tapes and vinyls. Who is now allowed to collect money from the digital and to put all of this music and the recordings to Spotify and other services? Maybe that's for the people who will talk later on, but that's a debate, you know, how that can be done and how that can be managed, because if the sound recording is owned by PGP, for example, as a record label, but we don't have a contract that's defining our digital, you know, who can do what? So I mentioned Taylor Swift. I don't know if you know about this case, but that's the controversy that is going on in the business for a while. It's about who's owning Taylor Swift recordings and why Taylor Swift is doing all of these re-recordings of her music right now. I even wanted to put some music into the presentation, but then I realized that I'm going to talk about copyright, and probably Facebook is going to block login's stream on Facebook, so I choose not to. But I mean, there's even Wikipedia page just dedicated to Taylor Swift Masters controversy. So if you're interested in that, but what's happening basically that record labels owns Taylor Swift first, I don't know how many albums, but 4 or 5. And because she's in a beef with Scooter Braun, who's the manager, he decided to buy the company. So the masters belong to him, doesn't belong to her, even she tried to bought it back. And now she decided to re-record, and I think this is the first successful case in history that she re-recorded songs and put it out as new versions, and the fans are actually now listening to those versions instead of the old master tapes. For some of the bands, it's very easy. Some of the bands doesn't exist. Even with some of the artists that I spoke to, who are like a legacy artist from the 80s or 90s, they're like, okay, I don't know my rights. I don't have good relationship with the label. They're not allowing us or giving us any money from digital and so on. But when I consider re-recording everything, it's not going to sound the same, because you have a lifespan of 20 or 30 years, and some band members change. And even if I spoke about it with, for example, with Zvonko Bogdan, who you may know, he's an old guy. I think he's 80s or something, and he's playing this traditional folk music, and he's like, I can't re-record anything because I don't have the same band, I don't sound the same. If you listen to my voice from the beginning of my career, till today, my voice is changing and changed, and a lot of musicians who played some of the famous songs, died or not with me anymore. So I can't re-record and expect the same quality and do it with the same passion as I did it when I entered the studio, I don't know, 30 or 40 years ago. So yeah, that's one of the things that is putting, master recordings into the spotlight these days. I'm going to talk about publishing spotlight that we have these days with buying catalogs in a minute. But if you're interested in this, you can go and check out what's going on with Taylor Swift and Scooter Braun. I mentioned neighboring rights. Some of people will use neighboring rights in terms of the master rights and master recordings, but it's also used as a performing rights as well. That's the third right I'm going to talk about in a minute, but just as a term, something that you should know when somebody, especially in English language. In Serbian, we call it srodna prava. I don't know how is it in Macedonian, but that's it's the same probably, yeah. But that's how the even law name in Serbia is copyright and neighboring rights. So it's rights that are related to the copyright. They, came later on. First, they came with authors' rights, and then with, progress of technology, with the recording as something new, with the performance, and, digital is making everything now even more complicated. This is how the copyright is developing, and, it's also changing in all of this process. I think maybe my colleagues at the end will talk about what's happening now in Croatia with digital rights and what's happening with new EU directives and how that's going to be implemented. But that's something new that is happening in the copyright you should be aware of, because it's changing the landscape of the music business very much. Performers' rights are one of the hot topics in Croatia right now, because they recently changed the law. And at the end of this day, my colleagues will explain what's happening in Croatia and how it's going to affect not just the whole Balkans, but it might affect the whole Europe and whole world. So when are you performing? You don't even have to be an author. You can be just a musician who is a studio musician. You came in, you're paid to do something, you record something, and you go home. So there's a huge debate these days, especially with digital. If I'm paid musician and if I just recorded something with the band and I never played with them anymore, but my song is constantly played on the radio, and my bass line you can hear on these certain songs, how you're compensated, what are you entitled to get, and what kind of rights do you have. So there's a performance right, so all the musicians, all the sessions musicians, the backup band or the band that was playing on that particular recording, that's also protected by law. Video, I put it there just to mention it, but a lot of musicians also don't think, and I have these cases. I have a band last week who had to pull out the video. They made a video, which is kind of controversial because you have two guys kissing, you have some girls with some blood on them and so on, but you also have a scene of two girls fighting. It's nothing, but the parents were they were, I think, 12 years old. The parents were there. And they recorded everything, but when they, saw the video, the parents were like, we don't like this, and we want our kids to be taken out of the video. So I put video as something that I think, if you're running a record label, if you're a musician, you need to have your papers sorted out. So what's happening with that video is that they had to pull out the video from YouTube. They had to rearrange it, do re-edits, cut out the kids. Because it lasted for 36 seconds, I think they had to figure it out how to fill that 36 seconds without jeopardizing the whole video, because the video had structure, color correction, and so on. So they had to think about, and the only thing why they had to do it, because they didn't have papers. So they didn't have papers with the production company they hired to do video for them. They didn't have papers with casting people, so people who were hired to cast people and showed up in the video. They didn't have any paper with actors, so they created the problem from themselves. So if you're already paying for the video, and if you're paying for the production company, if you're paying for actors and everything, I think it's important to understand that videos are also your asset, and you're putting it to YouTube, you're putting it everywhere. So you need to, understand that you need to get your papers in order, especially if you're running your own label or you're a musician. You need to do that. Oh, I have to speed up. I'll try. Okay. Collecting societies are one of my favorite topics in the whole world. I'm not against them, I just don't like how they work in our region, and I think we need to, speed up the whole process of monetization of these societies. Basically, there are a couple of them in most of the countries. I don't think Macedonia is the case where you have all three of them. I think you currently have only one, but in Croatia, in Serbia, in Slovenia, in a lot of countries, you do have a couple of organizations. I put examples in Serbian organizations. Sokoj is the one who's protecting the authors, composers, and publishers. We're going to talk about publishers in a bit. OFPS is collecting owners for the owners of the recordings, and P is the performance rights. That's why short is P. Prava interpretatora in Serbian. These are the three organizations. If you are, musician and performing and composer, you should be member of. There's one of mixed conceptions that you can't be member of OFPS, for example, because you're not owning the masters, that only record labels can do it, but that's not true. By law, depends on country for country, but in Serbia at least, if you can be as a private person, as a company, it doesn't matter if you can prove that you are the ones who paid for the recording and, you know, paid for studio and you own your master rights. Also, there's a misconception, at least it was for years in Serbia, that you can be only one member of Sokoj and not of any other, you know, collecting society in the region or in the world. That's also not true. And with the new laws and European law, you can be member of several collecting societies, at least for the authors, but also for some other collecting societies as well. And you can collect your rights all over the world much easier than you could do that in, you know, last couple of 20 years or so. You don't even have to be a member to protect your work. As I mentioned, you know, this, for me, there is a misconception. A lot of people think, okay, I'm a member of Sokoj and I'm protected. No, you're collected, you're not protected. They will collect money in your behalf, and that's their only purpose, to collect money that's, you know, made from public broadcast, from TV, from radio stations, from concerts, from, you know, places like these, barber shops or wherever the music is played, you know, shopping malls, for example. But the protection is something else, and we spoke briefly about it. So you are entitled to your own protection, and Sokoj is not going to sue anybody that took your, I don't know, song and put it in a movie. That's going to be your responsibility. There are different, you know, if you Google and try to find English words, you will see CMO, you will see pro as a short, you know, it depends how they, if it's in States, if it's in Europe, but that's, you know, the same collecting societies doing just different stuff and having different names. Publishing is one of the hottest topics at the moment. There are a couple of companies who are going around and buying song catalogs. I will show that in a second. There's a lot of, I don't know how you say, mystification going on around publishing and who are publishers, that people don't understand what publishing is. I tried to simplify it. For me, it's the people who do administration of the rights. In a way, they represent author. If, you know, you get assigned and you get a contract to represent, I have a couple of contracts of representing my artist in behalf of collecting societies, which means I can register the work, I can complain in their behalf, I can check all the books and finance, and if they've been broadcasted this many times, and so on and so on. I can also become owner of the right, because people are selling the songs and you have a right to sell your publishing or your part in a specific song. And so you have companies who are publishers that bought rights or become, you know, part of the publishing deal. A lot of labels in the past, but still have part of, if you're releasing music through, I don't know, you have all the big labels have big publishing companies like Sony Publishing, Universal Publishing, and so on. So it used to be that, you know, by releasing an album, you're also signing a publishing contract with some of the companies, and then they are doing administration for you and administration of the rights. This is something all over the news. If you haven't heard it, you haven't been following music business at all. From Bob Dylan to Red Hot Chili Peppers, Shakira, and many others, now mentioning Bruce Springsteen, mentioning David Bowie about maybe trying to sell their catalogs. It's a very lucrative business in the States because of the way how the public broadcasting money is being distributed. Publishers are very big and very important. And you have a company called Hypnosis Song Trust or Song Fund, basically buying a lot of big songs these days and shopping around. So this will be one of the biggest topics in music in next couple of years, for example. I think this is from CD Baby or TuneCore, I can't remember, but this is kind of a definition of publishing that I very like to use when I'm speaking with my kids and my students about what publishing is and how does it work. Any questions so far? We have 12 more minutes. No? Okay, move on. I'll try to do this briefly. It's a complex topic, but I'll try to do this briefly as well. You will hear terms of small rights and mechanical rights, and you know there's a slight difference between those two. Small rights are basically generated when you have a broadcast meaning TV stations and radio stations and even internet radio these days, webcast, playing your music, playing your songs. By law, all of these radio and TV stations are paying money to the collecting societies that we mentioned, and this is how you collect money as an author or as an owner of the recording, because every time your song is being played, it should be registered somewhere, and somebody in the collecting society should take care of it. And then they have different criterias how they distribute the money they are collecting from radio and TV stations. Also for concerts, public performance, I don't know if here, but in Serbia last couple of years there was a huge debate, and people were complaining, okay, I have a bakery and then I have to pay a certain amount of money to Sokoj, for example. Why? That's an ongoing debate. Why do I pay music when I have only a coffee shop and then music is playing from YouTube? But you're playing music that somebody created, and then the idea behind that is to compensate the authors of the music that you've been using in your coffee shop or shopping mall. On whatever. And concerts are very interesting in a way that also there is a debate and people asking, okay, I'm doing a festival and I already paid to the band. So if Red Hot Chili Peppers are playing, why should I pay them, why should I pay to Sokoj? And it's much easy, okay, when you have, in Serbia we do have a chance where you're a band and saying, I'm going on stage, this is my show, I produce the show, and I have wrote all the songs, and I don't want to pay, additional money to Sokoj, for example. In most of the countries, you don't have this kind of luxury to say, I don't want to pay to anybody. So if you have Chili Peppers playing, you might have people who are on the stage that are authors of the song, but it also may happen that at that time, they had a new guitarist and the old guitarist died, and some of the songs they are playing and performing are belonging to the people who are not at the stage with them. So they got a performer's fee to be at the stage and perform for you, but they can perform songs who are not theirs, for example. It's the same case with Madonna or the bands and artists who are playing somebody else's song. So it means that you're playing on concert song that belongs to somebody else, and that's why you're paying to Sokoj and the collecting societies, and they should be paying, for example, they should be paying to the authors through the collecting societies. Mechanicals. I forgot to put it down, but selling CDs, selling vinyls, it's very different from the digital, but similar in a way. Every time you sell a CD, sell a tape, sell a vinyl, you should be paying small fee, small percentage that is going to go to the authors, because as mentioned for concerts, it doesn't necessarily mean that, I don't know, some famous performer who you just bought her or his CD, that he wrote the songs that are on the recording that you just bought. Let me see the time. So this is kind of a chart how the money is going to be divided. At least this is how it's in Serbia. The half of the money from the TV and radio stations and the broadcast will go to the authors, will go to Sokoj, and the other half will be divided between the people who are the performers and the people who are owning the sound recording. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in every single country like this, and it's not. This is from the live performance. I just mentioned it's usually just going to Sokoj if we're talking about the live bands and you're playing live music, but it's getting more complicated when you're a DJ and you're playing somebody else's music, but you're also using, their recordings, so it can be different from this. Why I mentioned it can be different as well, because there's a difference how the rights are paid, for example, in the US and in the non-US. As you can see, in US, when it's played on radio, for example, and this is the TuneCore chart, which I think is great, the person who wrote the song is getting the money. That's why I mentioned that, publishers are quite important in the United States, because the money generated from, radio is not going to labels or producers or performers. But when we talk about outside of the US, it's quite different, and that's what we have in most of the region here, that person who wrote the song is getting the money, but also the person who owns the sound recording, sometimes producer and also performer, are getting the song from the money that it's getting from the broadcast. I'll skip digital for now. We can talk about digital later on, as there's not much time to do it. But this is a CD Baby chart. You can dig it up. CD Baby is a digital aggregator. They have this great chart of how money is divided from the digital, because the main question on digital these days is, when you put the music onto the digital services, who is getting the money? So if I put it as a label, by contract that I have with my artist, I'm paying percentage or revenue share with my artist. But then there is a question if the performers are getting the money, and the amount of money that authors are getting is actually very small. We can say, I can give you an example. For example, Sokoj, which is a Serbian organization, signed a contract with Deezer, and they paid something roughly about 175 euros for last, let's say, 3 to 5 years. If you compare that, divide that to over 10,000 people who are members of Sokoj, you can say that that amount of money that is just for the publishing part will be very small compared to what is generated on Spotify, on Deezer, on YouTube, and any other platform. So if you're interested in this, go to CD Baby and try to search, how money is divided on Spotify and who's getting what. Covers and samples, I'll just go briefly. We have 5 more minutes, and I'll leave you for anything for questions, and then to introduce the next topic. As I mentioned, digital is now making everything more complicated, and at one point it's much easier because the technology is cheap. You can easier record an album, you can easier make a home studio and get the great quality of the song and put it out. On the same time, there are more people to do it, but there are more people how to copy the music and how to copy your work. YouTube is one of the examples where you have tons of covers of, re-uploads and stuff like that, and it's a very complex issue, not just on the copyright side, which is very important, but it's also a complex issue for the platforms and how to protect this kind of, copyrighted material. YouTube is implementing Content ID and fingerprint technology more and more, and images like this you will see more and more, because they will have to tighten up the whole process of clearing the content on the platforms. But labels are doing more and more in order to protect what they're representing and their artist. When it comes to the covers, when it comes to the remixes and samples, yes, you absolutely need permission from everybody in the chain. It's just the question of what are you doing. If you're doing a cover version of the song, you need a permission from the author, because you're not using the original recording, you're not using the original performance on that recording. So you don't have to ask, for example, a record label if you want to cover, I don't know, Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. So there are people who are publishers, and you will call them, and you will get the permission for free or for money, or depends on the procedure. But if you want to do a remix or you want to use a sample, then you are using the original recording. So then you have a couple of more licenses to obtain. One of them would be the author's license, because they can say, I don't like how Eminem, I don't know, sample Dido in the new song, and I don't like, I don't know, the context you're putting me in. But even when she says yes as an author, then you will have to call record label who published the original recording, and you said you want to resample it or sample it and put it in a song and make a new material out of it. So you need that clearance, and you will need the clearance from the performers who were playing on the song, because you're again using their work and making something new. So this is a very complex issue, but I just wanted to briefly talk about it, because a lot of people are doing a lot of covers, and one of the questions I have all the time is, yes, can I use 15 seconds or can I use 20 seconds? And I don't know, do you have the same feeling? But there's this whole misconception of I can use up to 30 seconds, or some people will say up to 1 minute without, compensation, for free. And especially I heard that from the radio stations, like, I put this in a jingle, I put this in a commercial, but it's just a 20 seconds, and I did have some cases where I had to threaten to sue them, because using, music of my bands and then put it on, for commercial for a shopping mall. But they're like, it's 25 seconds, we're okay, it's under the 30 seconds, which is, even by Serbian law, it's not true. So we have 1-2 more minutes. Any questions? Yes?
I just wanted to ask,
you take the mic because of the live stream.
Thanks. So basically, I think publishing is still something that is a bit unclear for the region that we are living in. And I just wanted to check if my understanding of this term is correct. I'm actually thinking about publishing and publishers, very similar concept to the labels in terms that in case of labels, you actually sell your phonogram rights, master rights to the label. And on the other side, I see publisher as somebody who's actually taking usually 50% of your author rights. So it's like a concept that you are not just owner of your master anymore, like in case of label, but in case of publishing, you are actually not owner of your author rights anymore. Or you are actually not, you don't have free hands to do with your author work as you want, which can be an issue if the publisher is not really interested to monetize your work as much as you are. Am I right with this?
I mean, yeah, theoretically, yeah, but that's why at the beginning said this is like a marriage, and if you're signing something and contract, you need to be sure that you're signing it with the right people, that you trust them, and that they know what they are going to do with your work. So if you are signing a contract that's saying for the life of the copyright, which is going to mean 70 years after you die, certain company will have a right to put your song in Coca-Cola commercial. So
yeah, that's right.
You have to be sure that this company, if you tell them, I hate Coca-Cola and I don't want to ever work with them, that after you die and your grandkids won't have a problem of, fighting with this company about your work. I don't think that publishers are bad. I think it's just about choosing the right partner. And the contracts change. You said 50%. It depends, Depends. My contracts are not 50%, but I know publishers who are taking 50%. There are publishers who are taking 5, 20. I mean, it should depend. In my case, it should depend. Okay, if I'm working with a legacy artist, there's part of the administration that I can do, but it doesn't require that amount of work. If you're doing a new artist, there's a certain amount of work is going to be more. You need to join him to the collecting societies. You need to pay attention to this and that. So it depends, what amount of percentage you want to take. Yeah. I, for example, don't take the copyright for life. It's until you agree that we work.
But usually they are, right? I mean,
it depends. I mean, I think the time is changing, and that you would need to have like a solid case of, I don't know, $300 million, why would I sell my copyright for life? And plus, I think the contracts that I mentioned, they are probably for life, but like Red Hot Chili Peppers selling their author's rights, but probably after a time there will be a share. It's not just going to be like, I gave you the money and then you're never getting back again. It's probably going to be some sort of revenue share for the artist as well.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's like a marriage, and a publisher is a husband with millions of wives, right? So it's a question which wife is more important to him at the moment, somehow. Sorry, joke.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. I got a hosting job today, so thank you for listening this, and we're going to move right away to the new session. I invite Mate to the stage to something that Login called How Deep Is Your Love. You can welcome him with applause. So I just need to change.
Hello, welcome everyone.
Second presentation. So maybe we can start, until I put this on, maybe we can start with you. I don't know anything about the topic you're going to talk. I tried to understand it, but I failed a couple of times and then I gave up. It was very complex to me, and then I was happy coming here to hear what you're going to teach us. So maybe you can introduce yourself to the people first and tell them a little bit about yourself before we go to NFT.
Okay, it's fun because the copyright issues are super complicated as well, and NFTs actually will make this word a much simpler and automated word using smart contracts. I'm Mate Palagi. I will have a slide about myself, actually. I'm the violinist and the singer of the band called Bohemian Betyars. And we just released our fourth album in NFT. I will talk about it later because it will be hard to explain what we do with it. And I would like to start from scratch. But basically, the people who are so we get 333 lines of the new album, and every fan could buy one line of the album. And it, if you have an NFT, you will become a super fan of the band, and we will share you exclusive content. Like it's like a Patreon style. When you have like a monthly paid, here there is only one in the beginning, and you can resell it at the end.
Okay. You're gonna explain everything. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
You want to
start
with your? You want to start with your presentation now?
Yes, please.
Can we put his presentation on, please, guys? Okay, here it goes.
Okay, how deep is your love? It's not me who figured it out, but actually it's a funny day. It's about making scarcity, in the music business. So that's me. Yeah, as I said, I'm violinist of Bohemian Betyars. We played all around Europe. We played in Japan. We have a Japanese label called Japonicus, and we played in South by Southwest Global Fest many times. And unfortunately, we cannot go abroad these years, only playing in Hungary and the surrounding countries. We couldn't come to here to Pin either, but I hope maybe next year we can come and play here because it's an amazing city. So we started to figure out what we could do. We did some streams online, and of course everybody's trying to do with the music business. We started to build up a digital community, and we start to connect our fans, and this year in February there was the NFT boom, and we just knew that we need to do something about it. As we are quite successful abroad, we started to help other Hungarian folk music bands or world music bands. So we have founded the bass guitarist and me. Actually, we are a DIY band, splitting all the works about the band, about the management. Maybe you know Parnograst and Ferenci György. They are the big names of Hungarian world music. Parnograst is a gypsy folk band, acoustic, really great parties. Ferenci György and Első Pestiret, they are like a harmonica player, and they are playing blues mixed with Hungarian folk music. They have just recorded an album in Nashville, but actually for, I don't know, 10 years, they are always going to Nashville, and their idea, the American music business and the American folk, and they are mixing this with the Hungarian roots. They are amazing musicians. And Morda is a more like a psychedelic rock folk, and Nafanap it is an a cappella, women singing with percussion. So they are more emerging bands than to us, but what we like to do is to help them to go abroad, go to showcases, because like you don't need anything to go abroad. You are not so in the era of internet, you can find anything you want online, and if you have any effort to go there, and if you like start from scratch, in the meantime in Hungary and abroad, you can be successful. We have founded an association, and I'm the president of it, the Youngs for Hungarian Music Association. It's basically the same. We are trying to help emerging talents, and we are organizing art camps for musicians, and we have a methodology about community music making. So we are 50 people, and how can 50 people write a song together, which has some copyright issues, of course. Then everybody is but I feel it is. Yeah, but it has a really good creative process, and even non-musicians. But we are focusing on amateur musicians and non-musicians who are like, everybody can write a lyrics, and everybody can sing with us, and if we have a good mentor, we could have really good workshops about creating music together. And we've released these NFTs through this association as well, and all the incomes that we come from the NFTs we give to emerging musicians. So we will organize a talent competition of the money we gather and redistribute it. Because of COVID, I needed to have a proper job. so it was in March, and like everybody here, like in the March we got the least money, and we are waiting for the summer. And when the COVID came, and I just realized that okay, I need to find something which has like a fixed point in my life. And I started to working in an amazing association of community development. They are really professionals, doing a master's program in a university and helping basically an association of associations. So they are helping local communities all around Hungary to develop creating projects and maybe have some funds applications, and they are helping them. One of the main methodology we have just implemented in Hungary, it's actually from Estonia. We did an Erasmus program with them. It's called the Social Hackathon. And during 3 days, everybody in a local village, they can come with ideas. And during the 3 days, we create teams and we develop these ideas. And the end of the 3 days, and at the end of the weekend, 72 hours, they got a proper project with budget and how many people we needed. So like all they need to start, or if they got funded, so how to start it. So that's what we do, and
a proper job.
as a proper job, yeah. Yeah. And I learn a lot from them about, because they are not from the art sector, but actually we can mix it with the music as well. So if I go to the village, and like in a school, I do a community music writing about what your village should look like in 20 years, and it's a creative process, and everybody could write something, and actually it's going to be a song, but if I give it to an expert, he will have some thoughts about that. The youngs, what do they want to, how do they see their village, or where do they want to develop? Yeah. Okay, so I would like to start from scratch, because I don't know how many people are familiar with the technology itself. Maybe many people have heard about Bitcoin and the blockchain technology. The first is like an IT definition of the blockchain, but basically, if we want to say, it's an open source program where like 100,000 to 300,000 computers are all connected together, and they are validating our transaction. They are helping us people to send money, write contracts, communicate directly. And the good point in it that there is no central authority. We are not. So if I want to send a message, I'm not. I don't need Facebook, and if Facebook shut down, I lost all my fans and stuff. And if I want to send money to you, I send my money to my bank, then he's sending it to the European bank, and he sends it to your bank, and he sends it to you, to your wallet. And in Bitcoin, there's only me and you, and then of course there is a transaction fee, but it's much lower than in a regular transaction. If we are thinking about the Visa or cards, it's the same in the financial market. If I buy with a credit card, it's a long process to get you the money and with the blockchain technology, we can connect directly with the shop, and I can send the money to the shop itself. It's all transparent. Like most of the projects are transparent, and most of the projects are anonymous or pseudonym. So like we got a wallet, it's free, and but if somebody connects my wallet with myself, so if I'm a legal entity and I say that this is my wallet, then everybody can see my payments and stuff. Okay, Bitcoin is the myth that I said, that it started 12 years ago with with an unknown group of programmers or one person, nobody knows. It's called Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who it is. It's considered as a digital gold because it has 21 million Bitcoin. It will be 21 million of Bitcoin in the future, and that's why it will have like it works like a physical gold. It have a good correlation with it. Bitcoin is only good for sending money, and there was a Russian programmer called Vitalik Buterin who created Ethereum, which has like expanded the use cases of blockchain technology. He created a very cubed computer allowing us to create algorithms, smart contracts. It's so basically it's not just about money, but about all the assets you wanna create. It's about you can create smart contracts about copyrights. You can create smart contracts about tickets or in-game assets. So if I'm a video game company, I have an elf, and you can buy the elf and play it or in your video game. It's many use cases. The good point is the three big development of this technology is its speed, efficiency, and accuracy. So it's much faster than the usual technologies. It's transparency. Most of them are open source programs, so everybody could join and everybody could see what's going on, see the transaction. And security, because I said that like 300,000 computers are connected to each other. So if like recently in China, China banned all the miners, they are called miners, who are validating this transaction. Like, I don't know, half of these computers were shut down, but the
rest will work.
The rest of the world is going on, and all the miners are transported their assets to Kazakhstan or to the United States. So it's like a torrent style peer-to-peer network when you actually cannot shut it down, and this is the good part of it, that is really secure. Okay, what is NFT? It's basically the entrance of the art world to the blockchain technology. Why? Because it stands for a non-fungible token, which means that it neither be replaced nor interchanged because it has a unique properties, a unique digital token, which proves your authority over the artwork you bought. So basically, it's not money, because if I have $10 and you have $10, we can change the two notes. It will be the same. It's every token it's a unique token, and you can set. So it's like in an art world, and of course the first time it was like the visual artist who started to use it as a certificate of ownership. So if I'm a photographer or I'm a digital artist, and I put my art online, then if anybody buys my art, then before the blockchain, it was like a third party who had a certificate that it's me, and so I'm the owner, and I transfer my ownership to the buyer. In the NFT sector, it's all on blockchain, and I put it. It's called. There are many platforms, but for example, the biggest one is OpenSea. It's called OpenSea, and you upload your music or your visual, like a photo or anything you want, and you set the money for it. And the most important part, I think, in it, that you can have a percentage of every resale afterwards. And it's written in the smart contracts. Nobody can change it. And if you start it, you sell it, and maybe in 10 years. So it's a huge problem in visual artists that they die and all their work go to the moon and go selling for thousands of euros. Then in the copyright holders or the owner of the wallet, because you need to attach it to a wallet, gets 2% of every resale of the secondary market. This is this was the first, one of the first project with NFTs. It's called the CryptoPunks. As you can see, there's like 10,000 CryptoPunks was released, and it was free to get to your wallet. In the beginning, it was like 5 years ago. And all got attributes. You can see that there's eyes and nose and face and skin color and hair and everything. And all the 10,000 is different in a way. It was only an experimental project, but now it became the most expensive NFTs in the world. I believe it just sold for I think $300 million in a Christie's auction. I think that girl with the white hair. So it was an insane sale. Yes, let's just 1 second with the CryptoPunks. Is just that you became part of a community, and you will. I will talk about it a little bit later. Let's talk about the NFTs in the music business, because everybody is thinking about what can we do, musicians with it, musicians or music industry actors. Okay, the most common use case, which is really easy and nobody will recognize actually that it's an NFT which is working in blockchain technology, that a ticketing company, Live Nation, has already started implementing this technology actually, that every NFT is a concert ticket. Why it is good? Because it's easy to mint, so like it's easy to create. It's like you write a smart contract, you put it online, and you create all the tickets. You don't need to any. So it's a simple programming issue, and then every ticket is an NFT, and if it's easy to get, so you can imagine it as a QR code, and on your phone you can validate that does this wallet has this NFT you just created, and if people come to the concerts, it's easy to validate. You don't need any more apps to develop. And the most important part is there's no scams and frauds, because you cannot change this token. So like it's not possible to copy the ticket and sell it. You have your own marketplace, and they can buy your tickets on your marketplace, for example, and or outside your marketplace as well, because there could be some swaps, so like swapping tickets, so there are infinite possibilities, but basically you control the secondary market itself. And as a visual artist, as a ticketing people, you can have, for example, a percentage of every ticket resales. So if you have a concert for 500 people, but actually you just miscalculated, and there are like 2,000 people who would like to come, but you sold all the tickets and you won't get any more income. Actually, you can burn it in the contract that every 5% of the ticket resales you get it, so it's an additional income in the future. And these are so actually there are many possibilities. You can implement it. You can put it in a charity auction. There are a blockchain-based company called Fairly, who are helping festivals to implement a cashless payment system, and it's all transparent, and it's all unique in a way, because every visitor can set up which charity he wants to give the 5% of their tickets or their beer or everything, and you can follow the way of the money, and I think it's a really good way to democratize music and democratize finance. If anybody has questions, I try to cover a lot of different aspects. Yes?
I'd like to ask you a question about this percentage that comes to the first seller. It works similar to resale right, but I'd like to ask you, if the price goes up, this is percentage, but what about if NFT would be cheaper than at the beginning? The first right holder will take the percentage of the second sale as well?
Yes, I think like you can set up anything which could be written in a program. So like you can set up in the first contract. It's you who decide. You can set up that every resale you get $5, and it's a fixed price. And
even if the price will be cheaper, will be decreased, right?
Yeah. But if it goes down, then you get. If it's a percentage, you get a lower percentage.
And the second question, I saw a remark about reduced cost, but the cost for the society is very huge because for environment, this is big influence of those computers. We know that. And how to solve the problem for environment? Maybe there are reduced cost for ticket sellers like Live Nation, but what about us as a humans, as a people who are living in the earth?
Yes, it's a big issue, and I hope that in the future they will solve it. Basically, it's a computational problem when Bitcoin and Ethereum are using energy, so electrical energy power to validate this transaction, and I cannot change these blocks because I don't have an atom factory in my house to change all the, so like to have an attack. But in the future, and there are much more greener technologies, when you don't need this electrical power to validate the transaction, and so it's going to be much more scalable. And I believe that the Ethereum will change it in 2-3 years, and then it will be less footprint. If you, it's hard to see. Of course, it has a big impact on the environment, especially not just electrical power, but all the computers which goes to waste and stuff. But it's hard to compare because I don't know if the banks, how many server parks, or the Facebook or all these IT companies, how many server parks they have under the sea, which we know nothing actually, and we don't know the proportion of the waste. It's a new technology. It has some bad. So like it's not a perfect one, but in the future I think it will be super cheap. And if you see there is. For example, Flow Network and Tezos, which are like super cheap. We created the NFTs and we paid for $2 or €2 for the whole collection, and every transaction is like 0.001 cents.
But you know, many sectors goes into blockchain, like bank systems, like now artists, record labels, music. So if we act like that, we will need still more and more computers and energy and these issues. Do you take into account that, for example, European Commission will stop this technology because of the cost for environment, like now the coal mines are closed? You know, maybe European Commission will take decision that this technology costs us too much as a society.
Well, as I said, that in 2 years this problem will be solved. So Bitcoin itself will stay with this electrical power consumption, but Ethereum will change from, it's called proof of work, when the electrical power validates the transaction, to proof of stake, and it's then we will have no impact on the. Of course, we got some the small impacts, but actually it will be reduced to almost zero.
We hope so. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's move on. As NFT as a copyright of the song, which you just talked about, and it's a really interesting issue. That if we believe that, like if we create a system where every NFT is a song, and we just talked about all the percentages and all the different calculations how we get the money. But in the NFT, we can burn that I got 20%, you got 10% in the beginning, like when I register in the local authority. And when we got this, we can write programs or write the whole systems about in smart contracts, the algorithm for all the rights management and all the collection of the rights. There is no paperwork. It's much more transparent. And imagine I've just heard a project which would like to do this. I don't know how it is. The companies who collect money, which are super slow. Somebody plays my song, and 2 years after I get the percentage, and I get a super long list. Why I get only this? Because it's super complicated. But in the blockchain technology, we can have the world of microtransactions, and there are streaming services with this as well, just like startups. If I would like to play a song in a radio or in a barbershop, I pay $0.05. You can set up the money, and all this money goes to the NFT, and it splits the revenue instantly to the shareholders. And it's fast. Of course, there are loads of legal problems with it. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know how it will implement in the future. But basically, if we want to create this, we can create it. And if I'm an artist and I'm willing to use my music only as an NFT, I think I could do it. So what is interesting as well that if I'm a Red Hot Chili Peppers, I can sell my rights as well. But even if I'm an emerging artist and I would like to crowdfund my album, for example, and I would like to collect 4,000 euros to record my album and have a video clip, for example, I can release my album in NFT. And if you are investing in us, you get a percentage in the future of all my rights in the copyright section. And it's happening. There are many investment companies who are buying copyrights, and because it's a future income, and if you it's just like a startup system. Actually, you invest in 5 bands or 50 bands, and if one will be a worldwide famous musician, then you will get your money multiplied. It's all written in contracts, and you cannot change it. Of course, in the future, you can share your percentage in the secondary market, and the musicians could get a percentage of it. Okay, this is one of my last examples of the music business. These two were, I think, it was quite easy to understand. They are like helping companies to be more efficient, or like forcing companies to be faster. So, for example, I like the association in Hungary who are collecting rights, but they are for them it took 2 years, I believe, when they are starting to implement blockchain technology. I hope they will force to be it much faster and quicker, and stop paperwork, because it has no sense. Okay, and the last one, which is I think the most interesting, and we have just experimenting with this, and this is our project actually, that NFT as a community management tool. What does it mean? That if you are selling your NFT, like a CryptoPunk or our NFT is not just a photo or not just a JPEG, it's a status symbol in the digital world. And what is really important that we try to think in the heads of the younger generations whose digital life, and especially video games and metaverses are really, really important part, and they are not cared about cars or Rolex watches. They care about having a Rolex watch in the digital world and show it in the video games to their friends or on Facebook that I'm rich. Basically, yeah, it has a really bad part of it, of course, this ultra-capitalist part when you are buying an NFT and you put it on Twitter. Actually, in Twitter, you can, in the future, I don't know whether it's now or it's in the future, but you can connect your Twitter account with your blockchain wallet, and then you can change your profile picture to this NFT you have. So if you have just bought an NFT for $30 million, you can show to the digital community that I'm super rich. And it's a really bad part, but it's happening, and it's one of the most famous communities, Bored Ape Yacht Club, and Post Malone band just bought it, and Stephen Curry, the NBA player, had just bought one for $40 million. And it's really hard to understand why they are doing it, but basically there are 10,000 Bored Ape in the yacht club, and imagine that how much money they got, and it's all collected in the common I don't know what, a wallet, and they are investing in the digital life, and we are just founded in what is it called? An online band like Gorillas, but only in the digital world. They are doing an animation series, and so they got loads of money, collected all together, and they are reinvesting it and using it. And I don't know what's going to be the end of it. For us, for musicians, it's the direct contact with the fans. So in the 70s, we got the musicians, we got the artist managers, we got the labels, the distribution, the shopping, like the CD shops, and then we got the fan members. During the internet, we could leave all the actors between us, and I believe that this is the last step between the direct contact between the band and the musicians. So basically, I release an NFT, you can sell it, or I can sell it to you, or I can give it to you, it doesn't really matter, but it's a token that connects us with each other, and I can do anything with this connection. So Snoop Dogg, what he did is, there is a metaverse, which is like a virtual reality, and he built up a Snoop Dogg villa in this metaverse, and if you got this token, you can go there and have online parties and have fun with Snoop Dogg, or I don't know, the avatar of Snoop Dogg or anything. I don't know what's gonna be. It's not open yet, but there are, I think, 1,000 tickets, and one ticket is $2 million nowadays. Yeah, for another big example is Kings of Leon, who released the golden ticket as NFT, which gives the holder of the NFT all-time access to their concerts. So like an all-time concert ticket, front of stage. So like, super fan stage. It was a horrible amount of money. I don't really know actually, but the point is that we can do anything with it, and we can have a super fan base connecting the band, and we can give them extras if they are holding an NFTs, and we can have a gaming project, and we can. I don't know, create a community about us, around us. And if you change it, or if you got questions, because this is our NFT project, I think you will understand, because in a better way if I have this example, because we are not Snoop Dogg, we are not Kings of Leon, we have no sold-out shows for all the time, and our fans are not fighting for us actually. So what can we do NFTs in a normal sense? So what we did it's as I said, we released 360 lines of lyrics with the generative rooster rat. As you see, this is our logo, band logo. And there are like different colors, different accessories. This has tattoos. This is like a dead, I don't know what is it, grilled chicken, and stuff. And under it there is the lyrics of the song. everybody can buy it for a donation. We redistribute it as a talent show. And what we do is, maybe you heard about Discord. It's an online forum, privacy focused. So basically you create an own server where you can have channels, and in Facebook, or like in generally, the fans are connected with the band, and we can have chat with them, but basically they are asking us questions and we tell them. And of course there are Facebook groups they can reunion and they can share ideas. But in Discord, what we would like to do is connect the fans with the fans directly. And of course we are there and we are trying to helping them and forcing. But what we try to create is 300 people who likes Bohemian Betyars and share ideas and maybe go to a concert together, or maybe making friends or anything like this. But we have that if you have an NFT, you get a secret group in this Discord channel where we upload hidden content. So it's like a Patreon part of it. We have 12 years of touring all around the world, and of course we have released a lot of videos, but they are only 3-minute long videos of thousands of minutes of footages. So we got an extra content for them, and all is going up. All income goes to charity, as I said. We will have 2 fan meetings in Budapest and in other cities. So we will go to a picnic, for example, and only people who have NFT could come to the picnic, and we try to establish a connection and like a super fan base. We've released an album in Decentraland Metaverse. We had an album release show in Budapest, and we got a stream to the world. And this Decentraland is, it's maybe you heard about, it's like a second life virtual reality, when you have different districts. And there is a festival land district where it's 3D programmed, the whole, there is techno stage, world music stage, acoustic stage, and it's all like a game, but you can go with an avatar, and if you enter to a stage, you see the stream screen and you see the band. And there were between 500 and 1,000 people watching our show, which was a big surprise for us. It was so good. So it has a big fan base there as well, who are open for all this stuff. And the last one is that all the NFT holders got a chicken and got his line, and we've released we just started an art contest for all the NFT holders. If you are creating a new song or doing a video clip or anything else, anything creative with your chicken, then you can get the Bohemian Fried Chicken, which is like the golden ticket. You can have all-time access. You are on the list of every self-organized club show of Bohemian Betyars with +1. So it's the super fan who can come to any concert, it could be interesting for any band actually. That what is the price of a ticket? Who get access to all the concerts of Bohemian Betyars? Here we don't want to sell it because it's too much. But if you are creative enough, you can win it. And of course, we got a lot of content of different band-related art. Okay, I think this is all about. I got some more slides, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for this presentation. I mean, it is the first time for me to listen about NFT, and it's a really interesting thing. And as I understand it, it is something that will definitely have some impact on the music value chain. So you were speaking about getting closer connection between the creator and the customer, for example. And from the point of view of the whole music ecosystem, what do you think, who is the loser? Who's going to lose a job because of this system? And maybe this is something that can be related to Nikola, for example, and his topic, because with NFT we can all become publishers somehow. And what that means for Nikola, for example, as a publisher, is that a danger for him, or this is an opportunity for him?
Well, I believe that many people will lose their job, but it will create a lot of new jobs as well. So as a publisher, as a musician, as a general musician, I don't really want to care about money or copyrights or all this bureaucratic stuff. So I think the publishers or the copyright handlers, we need to focus on this and creating these NFTs and stuff. So I think it will change the industry. It will help us. What is maybe the bureaucrat? So that all these smart chains and automated systems will leave all the paperwork and give it to the hand of the computers to calculate all these stuff. And there will be no more Excel sheets, only programs. And of course it will be hard to. There will be Excel sheets, of course, because we need to visualize what's happening, and it will be a complex system. It will staying as a complex system, but it will help us to simplify a bit, and it makes it transparent. But I don't know. With an NFT, for example, I just talked with Ferenci George about it, and he said that he hates Spotify, and actually a lot of niche artists who doesn't get any money from Spotify, hating it. They are using Bandcamp to sell their art. But for example, we can create a streaming platform for NFT holders, and if you got an NFT, you can listen to our music constantly streaming. But if you are not, our NFT is nowhere else. So we can do it if we would like to be exclusive and we would like to have a scarcity. There is a Wu-Tang Clan song or an album, I don't really remember, who just nobody listened it, not nobody. You heard about it, yeah. And it's the company who bought it. It's an NFT. It's a blockchain-based company. So I believe that they will release it in NFT and I don't know, spread it to 1,000 people, and we will see how much we would like to pay to listen to this Wu-Tang Clan band.
Okay, thank you. We are out of time, but we have 15-minute break. So if anybody wants to approach you and ask you something, they're free to do so.
I got 2 more slides actually, just to see the other use cases for the NFTs. There is merch for avatars in the metaverses. It is our concert actually. If you see that the Bohemian Betyars on the top and we are on the stage there, and there are people there. So you can release a Bohemian Betyars T-shirt. In Decentraland, people would buy it for $1 or I don't know, and you get an extra income. There are Sandbox and Decentraland, which are great examples, I think, of these virtual metaverses. And the last one. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Actually, it's the last one is just about one before. Yeah, that's it. It's just other examples. There is On-Chain Monkey, which is a charity-based NFT project. They are helping for ocean conservation and helping the social NGOs with all the income, and I think it's a really good project, especially because this blockchain is all about how to get rich in the shortest period of time, and I don't really like this approach, and they are doing it really well. the Twitter, you can sell all the tweets you have in NFT. The first tweets was sold for I don't know how many people, but if you are following somebody on Twitter and you would like to support him, actually, why not buying a tweet of him for I don't know 500 forints, or if for like $2. You support him, you got something in return. You don't really care, but you can support your digital artist directly. And Mirandus, it's a play to earn video game. What is really interesting in it that it's a grassroots project. He never get funded by any venture capital, and they are selling, for example, the armor shop of the game. It's a MMORPG, and you can buy. So like they are giving you assets in the game if you are supporting them. And when the game is released, you will get money from selling weapons to the people going there. So imagine if you are going to mine in a world and you get silver and you sell it in the local jewelry, then you get actually $1 in your wallet, which is really horrible to imagine in the future. Actually, there are now Philippines working only in virtual world, doing basically nothing, just playing it, but they earn much more money than in the physical world.
Okay. Yeah, Mate, because we are bad promoters, we need to move from the stage. Thank for your presentation. And for 10 minutes we continue. So come on, snack, drink, and the rest what going with rock and roll. Thank you.